Welcome, everybody. Welcome to one of those wind events, and glad you could make it to the trade show today. We're working at this 110 to 145 session. We're going to be cooking Maine marinara sauce. So my name is Ron Adams. I'm with the Maine Farm and Sea Cooperative. We're kind of one of the spearheads, but many partners, as you can see up on the dashboard. We've got lots of partners that came together about a year ago to put together marinara sauce for schools, institutions. The Department of Corrections is actually involved in this as well. So we bought over 10,000 pounds of tomatoes so that we can, we have tomatoes, we have carrots, we have onions, and garlic, all bought from Maine farmers to put into marinara sauce. So the last 3 weeks, we've made 3,000 gallons of marinara. And that's kind of where we're at the moment. Mike Flynn joins us.
Hi, everyone. Mike Flynn. I'm a school nutrition director. So a project like the Marinara program is perfect for folks like in my role. If maybe you remember your days in school nutrition where the food was out of a box, heated, served. Well, this is a perfect kind of in that same mindset for production purposes. So especially being a chef, having such high quality of local foods in the ingredients that we can buy, put on the tray or put in the pan very easily so that we can timely get lunch ready. This is a perfect program. So when Ron reached out saying what it is, what he's going to do, what the idea was, I was all in, and it's really hitting the schools very well. So thanks, Ron, for your work on this.
Thanks for cooking today. Then I can just kind of walk around with a microphone. It works out. We also have Abby Snell with us today. She's our evaluator for the project. Abby's at USM and is finishing up her degree there. So Abby has been doing many taste tests across the state. I think we're somewhere around 300 to 400 individual taste tests with students, staff, to make sure we dialed in the sauce recipe, because that's one of those things. Some institutions don't want it that way. They want it a little sweeter. They want it a little less tomatoey, a little more tomatoey. You name it, people want their individual marinara sauce for their facility. This was funded through a Kendall Food Vision Prize. So the Kendall Foundation gives out about 5 of these a year. So we received $200,000 to use as we needed to pull off marinara sauce with Maine ingredients. That included doing an education work with schools about taste testing. That included doing farm supports. So we made investments in 3 farms in the Lewiston area to ramp up their production. And then we also did a marketing project with the Azucan food truck program and their youth. So they're coming up with social media marketing, which hit the market today.
How's it working for you, Ron?
Nope. Why don't you get started?
Do you want to? Okay. So I'm going to do just a very simple saute to show you kind of an idea of classic production of marinara. We have an onion, carrot. Chefs call it the mirepoix, or the foundation of the sauce. I've got some garlic, some Roma tomatoes. Romas are a preference for a tomato type for reductions and or sauces. I've got some dry herbs, some garlic. Ron, did you grow this garlic? Did your wife grow this garlic? Ron's wife's a great farmer. So let's get started. I'm going to use, do you like my apron, by the way? Got this for the holidays. My son said, "You'll never wear it, will you, Dad?" So it's being documented today. And the knives came with the holiday, so I'm excited. So basic preparation of an onion. I like to leave one of the ends on just to hold it together. Ron, can you show me how to use your induction burner? Just want to get a slow heat. I forgot to ask you about that.
I didn't know that one.
I've got power.
Yep.
So you'll want to heat your pan a little bit before you get going.
Powered up. Oh, yeah. You can do that.
All right. So if I can chop, sometimes I get a little smoke going. So if anybody could help me if there's too much smoke, there's a fire extinguisher right there. Oh, that's right. Teresa's on that. So yeah, we're going to use the claw technique for us that are culinarians. I sometimes just use the palm as long as I'm keeping my digits up and out. At RSU 12, we work with the kids a lot. And believe it or not, we're working knife skills with the kids too, depending on their expression. If there's an aggressive expression, we keep them away from them. So I'm just going to mince these onions a little bit. When I do saute, I try to make my mirepoix or my veggies very small. So I'll use a small dice. Onions are generally the start of most all classic French or classic Western cooking. I'll even go right into a dry pan just to see if I've got some heat. I don't know if you are picky about your oil that you use, but make sure you're using a high temp oil. Olive oil's good. Some of the lesser expensive oils burn quickly. They have a low burning point, so a little bit of good oil is better than a lot of cheap oil. So we got a little saute going. I'm going to try to keep it light, try to keep the fire extinguisher in the box. I'm going to peel some carrot and add that to it as well. When I add my herbs, I add them at the high heat point if it's a dry herb. If it's a fresh herb, at the latter part, kind of like when you add salt. I'll even add salt at the end because we want to kind of reduce the sodium that we're taking in. And you really don't need a lot. If you add salt early in your sauces, you're going to end up needing more because the flavor dissipates. So you're going to kind of compound that sodium content. I have a text from Robin Kerber. Thanks, Robin. Send those to Johnny, those photos. My son is a linesman, so he's out somewhere putting power back up. I try to get a flat surface as quick as possible on the carrot. That way it doesn't roll around and I'm more apt to cut myself. Are there any students in here? Any elementary students? You skipping school today or anything? Nobody I could get up here? At RSU 12, we're trying to use what's called the brigade system, where we use a lot of our production in one site. So a program like the Marinara is perfect. So we can take that sauce, take it out of the bag. Ron, did you show us a bag of that Marinara yet? Do you have a... Okay. I'm jumping. So in that case, envision my whole team. We have 5 schools at our district. We're working together in one kitchen to make whatever it be, utilizing the marinara for like a chicken parm or something like that, or a pasta sauce. Okay, I'm going to add the herbs to this heat now. It takes a few moments for dry herbs to start to penetrate the vegetables, so you want to start them early. Whereas the powders, if you've got some onion powder, garlic, you're going to want to add it kind of like at the end with your salt. Because it has an easy burn temp, a low burn temp. Generally, we'll de-seed the tomatoes, which is just splitting them in half and squeezing out the seeds. For sauce purposes, it's not ideal. You can use that. You can strain it out. I'm sure many of us are familiar with reserving the seed. You can reserve those seeds and plant them, grow your own tomatoes. Do you have any good Italian wine, Ron? Oh. So I have a little tomato paste, not toothpaste, but tomato paste. We're going to add that to give it a little more body. And we've got some juice in the can. We'll let that simmer for a few minutes. I am going to use some of these canned tomatoes as well. Of course, these seeds are going right in. Our best marketing at RSU 12 is the smell of the kitchen into the classroom, so we take full advantage of that. This is where I'll add any powdered ingredients. I'm going to use a little bit of more garlic and onion powder. And black pepper could go in early too, but in this case, I'm just going to add it at this point. But again, I'm going to reserve this for the very end. Some dishes at home, I won't add salt at all, just for that health benefit. Ron, do I have to clean up? All right.
No, I'm
So
sure
that's it for me.
I'm sure there are elves that come and clean up all of this, Mike. That's
Yeah.
how that works, right? Thank you, Mike. So while that simmers, we are going to be tasting some of the sauce. In Brunswick, there's a co-packer who is able to make sauces. He does it for his own brands nationally, and he's able to make this for us. So it's in a pouch. So we're saving the weight of the steel cans. It's also the expense. So that's about the same as a large number 10 can that schools traditionally would use. We also have it in a 20-pound bag, so bigger school districts like Lewiston can use that directly out of that. They can put a spout on it, so they can also pour up the small cups. So kids can have that with their pazzo bread, their garlic breadsticks, and that's how we'll be serving taste tests today, is with the good crust garlic bread. That's using your
use that as a
sheeted
platter.
crust. So that's coming. A little more about the Kendall grant. One of the parts is really measuring everything that we're doing. So we had to come up with how many pounds, how many taste tests, how much impact that we're having on it. So our goal was 3,000 gallons. We're just a little bit shy of that just because that's how it worked out. It was how many had a good tomato year in your gardens at home, right? Yeah, my wife had 3. We had 3 tomato plants. We had 3 tomatoes all year. So tomatoes were in very short supply. Luckily, we had Liberation Farms had some 3,000 pounds in the freezer already diced, so we were able to buy those and put those to work. But so 6,400 pounds of tomatoes. Oh, your recipe, right? You needed it. Here's your recipe. 6,400 pounds of tomatoes. We actually only used about 300 pounds of zucchini. It was a little strong, so we kind of tapered back how much zucchini we were putting in this. Carrots, remember, you didn't see Mike add any sugar to it, and we used carrots for the sweetening instead. That proved pretty good, but we still needed a little bump. But we're still under 1 gram of sugar per serving. So very low sugar and low salt as well. It's funny, in the taste test, those were the 2 things that food service directors had issues with. It wasn't sweet enough, and it wasn't salty enough. But that's kind of, so we had to keep it down to where we were. This right now, I think, is 250 milligrams of sodium per serving, so that still counts as a low sodium food, even with the tomatoes, with the background sodium. Onions, we got out of Bob Spears, same with the carrots, so those all came out of Nobleboro, and it's no fun peeling 1,800 pounds or whatever of onions. That's no fun. That's a lot of peeling. So total, that's what we were looking at. Then we did the focus groups, so we would survey kids during lunchtime, but we also surveyed the staff. So all the managers would get together. We'd talk about what are your concerns when you taste the sauce? What do you think about it? How are your kids going to react? So we did a pretty extensive taste testing on the first recipe. This is now our second recipe, so it's a little more canned tomato, because that's what makes it red. Maine tomatoes don't bring a lot of red color and a lot of tomato paste either. So we did do that Italian seasoning, so it's basically just basil. We started with fresh Maine basil, ran into price issues, so we kind of dialed it back to dry basil. And there was a lot of testing. So much for that. So our farmers that we got together with, Bob Sphere, brought a lot of volume to us. But Liberation Farms in, where are they? Wales, I believe. So they were able to, they grow a lot of plum tomatoes anyway. They also do a project with the Portland Public Schools, which kind of where this grew out of and where I used to work. So they grew most of our plum tomatoes. The New Roots Cooperative Farm is in Lewiston, Maine. They also grew tomatoes and zucchini. We've invested in both of these. So they bought a lot of racks to bring the tomatoes to Brunswick, where we process them. And then the Azucan Cooperative, they have food truck, but they also do 3 acres of farming right down on the Androscoggin River. They had really a hard time with a lot of water in the spring and then a lot of water the rest of the year. So. But they did come out to an event at the Park Avenue Elementary School, and we served 375 kids sambusas with marinara dipping sauce. So it was quite a treat for the staff of the school in the kitchens to learn how to make a sambusa. I think we had to make, what, Abby? It was like 500 sambusas that day. But on a normal day, 2 teachers will eat school lunch at Park Avenue School. When we brought the food truck, 26 teachers ate. And they paid money for it. That was even more absurd, but they did. So that was a great cooperative venture. They did start doing social media marketing for us. So they're telling the story of the farmers, they're telling the story of the crops, and why local foods are important to kids. And that goes back to quality and things like that. Quality and taste. And this summer, Abby, Alita Farrell, and I did farm visits to make, look at their growing practices, take a peek at what they're doing. We did water testing at each of the farms so that we could make sure of what the wash water was in the vegetable houses were. Even though that we're cooking all these products, we want to know what that baseline bacterial background count is. So we tested all of those, and that served a good purpose for them as well. So these pictures are from the Azucan farmland right down on the banks of the Androscoggin in Auburn. And that summer zucchini, summer squash in the lower left, they didn't get much more than that one. They had 40 plants out, and I still didn't get more than 50 pounds of the product. So it was a hard season. But so we've got the good crust garlic bread up here using that, and we have marinara cups. We do have some taste test forms if you want to sign through on that. I'd love to hear your opinion on the sauce. And we have a booth over on 48 if you want to stop by and talk about the cooperative, kind of the work we do, our different projects, and any questions on that. And oh, yes. Distribution. So we set up early. So this whole came out of a group called the Processing Work Group. How about that? So local food processing, and it's everybody from the farmers all the way through the distributors. So Native Maine had been in the room, and they're picking up from Brunswick at the manufacturer. And then they'll be distributing to 19 school districts around the state starting next week. So that's on the road. It'll be on the road soon, and I keep getting emails. When's that sauce coming? Because originally we were going to get it out before holiday break in December, right? Well, we're still waiting. It's still coming along, but thank you for asking about that. The other part about distribution is getting the farm products to Brunswick. At that manufacturing facility, he needs a 500-pound delivery of zucchini to even fire up his cutting plant. So that's part of the trick of trying to get all 3 small farms to deliver on the same day so that they can fire up and run that plant. Other questions? More? Okay. Then if you'd like to come up, say some sauce. And Abby, we got some forms. Okay, Mike.
Ron, I'd
some
like to make you aware, we do have the bread that we have. I don't know if you've seen the Good Crust booth, but we are a customer of the Good Crust. It's a beautiful product for the kids' pizza day. So that's what the bread is. This morning in the dark, I'm one of the towns that had no power this morning. I toasted that off, Heather. So I hope I did it justice in the dark. But enjoy.
All right, come on up.